And welcome once again to Your Retirement. It is the January edition here on the third Saturday of every month here on News Talk WJAG with our host, Insurance 365's Jay Kenobi, and Angela Cradaville with us here. Greetings, gang. How are you today?
Wonderful. How are you?
Happy New Year, right?
Absolutely.
Our first get-together here in the new year, and it's a new year, so a new you. A new year is a time to make some new goals for yourself, or maybe it's time to just buckle down and get things straightened out for your life if you're heading toward retirement. That's what we talk about here, Your Retirement. Reach out to these folks at insuranceagency365.com. Their phone number is 402-371-3136, and they are located right here in Norfolk at 711 South 13th. And Jay, we talk a lot about relationships. You guys are very good at fostering relationships. First thing we want to talk about today is a get-together that you're going to have at Black Cow Fat Pig coming up this month in January. We're going to put on a dinner on Wednesday, January the 26th at 6 p.m., and then the next night at the same time, 6 o'clock on January the 27th. Jay, talk a little bit about these events.
Well, these events are an educational event that's going to look at things from a helicopter view. It's going to bring up a lot of things. I'm not going to get detailed and situational, so that way I can cover the entire crowd with their issues. It takes an hour and 15 minutes. You're going to be out the door in an hour and 15. People like that. Again, let's bring up the concepts of the areas you're going to face in retirement. We have these seminars. They're very popular. Signing up, it gets full in a hurry.
Angela, how do they sign up for these babies?
Yeah, there's two ways of doing it. There's a phone number that they could call. It's 833-387-1751.
Okay.
Or they could RSVP online at www.you, and that's spelled out YOU, RSVP.com, and they enter a code that is all capitals KASRAH.
Okay.
Or they could call our office, and we can help guide them.
Very good. That sounds like the easiest way. I'm just going to call Insurance 365 and then let you guys do this.
They can. We have the call that you can call, the 800 numbers 24 hours a day, which people like that as well. So The invites, Jeffrey, just went out Monday and Tuesday of this week. The seating is limited to 30 per night, and we already have 21 people. So 21 out of 60 spoken for after 3 days.
Leave the kids home. And no agents or advisors, obviously. So we're going to talk about surviving retirement. I always look forward to talking to you guys every month because I learn. I'm close. I'm in that wheelhouse, Jay and Angela's wheelhouse. We talk about if you're within 10 years of retirement, it's time to buckle down because those last 10 years before you call it quits and then move from a revenue-generating person to a revenue-taking person, you have to have all of your ducks in a row, and that's what we're going to talk about here at these seminars. But you guys run into real people all the time, Jay.
We do. This week, ran into a lady who was in her upper 80s, and her daughter brought her in, and her daughter has been clients of ours for years. And she brought her mom in and said, Mom doesn't like to talk about any of these things, so you take a stab at her, Jay. And we did. And we pulled out what she had. She had 3 life insurance policies, this lady in her 80s, and she pulled them out. And I said, obviously you bought these back in the 70s. We called the company and found out that there was no policies. And this lady in her 80s had thought she had been paying on these policies for years.
She, though? She hadn't been paying, though.
She hadn't. And she swore to up and down that they were paying. And so the story was kind of tough at that moment, but, it was like, okay, the daughter's like, this is good because now I know. Mom has always referred to these policies, and I could tell by the mailings she brought in. The mailings were older mailings. And so, we called the company and walked through that. It took about an hour and a half. And we're searching by Social Security number, Jeffrey. And then we found out a really golden egg. Found out that this lady she had a policy, but it wasn't life insurance like she thought. She did not have the 3 life policies, but she had a long-term care policy with benefits, Jeffrey, of over $200 a day for a lifetime.
She bought this in the 70s?
And the daughter was like, wow, Mom, we had no idea. And of course, Mom says, well, I'm not paying on that. And I said, well, actually, you are. Actually, you do. You have paid on this, and you still are paying on it. And I said, this is the greatest policy I've seen in a long time. If your health goes down, you have extremely good policy. She had bought it years ago with 5% inflation, unlimited benefits, had bought it initially for $35 a month. And this lady, I mean, if she would have went in a home or an assisted living, she'd have told her family, I don't have any coverage. When we were looking for the 3 life policies that were cashed out, we found a golden nugget right there, a golden egg, in a heck of a long-term care policy for this lady.
That's kind of like the old TV commercial. The guy goes to a garage sale, and he comes home with this painting, and he pulls it out of the frame, and he finds a signed copy of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah. It's just a great story.
Glad I took this frame off. So, yeah. But not everybody is that lucky. And you know what's great about that story, too, is if she bought that probably back in the 1970s, she probably did it when she was maybe in her late 40s, maybe around 50 years of age. And so the rates were pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And that was real forethought back then, because long-term health care insurance was not spoke of a lot back in those days.
She had no idea who the guy was that sold it to her, of course.
Well, that is outstanding here. So, surviving retirement, and fortunately for her, she had a daughter looking out for her.
That's exactly what happened.
So
the daughter was frustrated.
How do you avoid these pitfalls then?
Well, you have to start communication. How do you avoid them? You come in and say, "Help me out." People do that weekly. They call our office. They say, I'm gonna bring some stuff in. I'd like to meet with Jay or Angela, and they just sit down, Jeffrey, and it's like putting together a puzzle. I mean, you start over here, and here's United World, and here's Washington National, and here's Bankers Life, and you just start going through, and you have to make those. God, they're tough. You have to make those calls to 1-800 the company.
Oh,
and you have to know what prompt, and you have to understand the language.
Yeah.
And then when you get a representative on there, you typically have to be kind of stern and I need these answers because I know what I'm looking for. The people, if a consumer just calls in, they're just going to get the kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
They're just going to get the kick the can down the road. So when we call in, we're very assertive, and we know what to ask, and most times the story ends well. But even if the story doesn't end well, it's ending. You know what you have,
right?
And then we take the time to say, look, okay, you bought this 30 years ago or 20 years ago. Let's update the files. Let's talk to your son in Omaha. Let's call him and tell him what you have. Oh, okay. You might have a whole life policy that you were unaware of because it was paid up, but you call the son in Omaha and say, just so you know, there's a $40,000 life policy out there on Mom. Oh, I had no idea. Nobody knew.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's just good open communication.
Dig into that stuff. And, if you have parents who are getting along to that age where you're starting to ask the question, okay, what's going to be the next step? Then it's probably maybe even past due to get after it and ask these questions. But so important to start pulling that stuff out of the drawer, going through it, and let these folks help. But you could also come to Surviving Retirement, a dinner on Wednesday, January the 26th at 6 p.m. or Thursday, January the 27th at 6 p.m. at Black Cow Fat Pig. In and out, Jay says, hour and 15 minutes. You'll kind of give everybody the Cliff Notes, the 30,000-foot level look at retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of things about IRAs, inflation, tax qualified, non-tax qualified, long-term care, annuities, life insurance, and the whole time Angela and I are speaking, you're having a nice dinner at one of the finest restaurants in Northeast Nebraska, Fat Cow.
Black Cow. Don't call the cow fat. That's he's going to come back on you, dude.
Very nice restaurant.
Black Cow Fat Pig. It certainly is right along. It's 7th and Norfolk Avenue, so check it out. But everybody, the biggest worry about retirement is, am I going to run out of money? Isn't that the number one question?
Absolutely. It's the two things people worry about is running out of money and their health.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And we focus on the running out of money. And please make sure, don't just show up.
Yeah.
There is 30 seats in there, and the 30 seats are spoken for. So you can't, people will say, well, I just showed up. I'm sorry, I'm not going to.
Can't get you in.
Nope.
Okay, so you shared a story. Angela, do you have a story to share with us?
Yeah, we've been dealing with a lot of people, it seems like, that are on the younger end that don't have life insurance. So, we ran into a couple scenarios this week of it's cheap. Why are you running around with no life insurance? For instance, we had a farmer who just purchased some land. So he's got a lot of debt. So if something happens to him, who's going to pay for that debt? Well, it's going to go to the family, right? Mm-hmm. A 29-year-old for $500,000 of protection, $500,000 death benefit is $200 a year.
A year.
A year.
Not even $20 a month to cover yourself for $500,000.
And then the dad bought the other part of the land, and his policy was how much?
$500,000. That one was 15-year, and that one was for $2,700 a year. So even at that,
and his age was about
60.
60. Okay, that's
so.
That's a lot of protection.
That's a lot of protection. That's some pretty cheap insurance. Man, good stuff here. Just 29 years of age, and this agency is for everybody. This is Your Retirement on News Talk WJAG with Angela Cradaville and Jay Kenobi at Insurance 365. We get together every Saturday, every third Saturday of the month, and this is our first one of 2022. Find out more. You can research this group at Insurance Agency 365. Their phone number is 402-371-3136, and they're at 711 South 13th Street in Norfolk. And we're only about halfway done. Our first break, and when we come back, more on Your Retirement. And welcome back to Your Retirement on News Talk WJAG, the third Saturday of every month with our friends at Insurance Agency 365, Angela Cradaville. She's on the right as you look at your radio. I'm right in the middle, and there's Jay over there on the left. And it's always fun to sit here in the studio and listen to these two talk and listen to some of the situations that they come across. Let's face it, Jay, nobody really wants to deal with this stuff. But we want to turn to some people that we know and trust. And you've been in this community a long time. And I prefer to do business when it comes to things like this with people that we know, people who have been around.
The most apprehension people have is because they feel they're going to be told they did something wrong, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And we're very sensitive of that. We're very aware of that. I'm not going to say you did anything wrong. There's people have brought in products, and I'm like, that has its place, but maybe there's something out here that could be better, or maybe let's just clean it up and wipe our losses. But I think, in talking to people when they first come in, you can tell is this a sales idea? Is this a sales environment? I've done this long enough. I'll be honest with people. I don't need to sell everybody I see. It doesn't, I think sometimes when you're younger, you get pushy. I'm at the age, let's just talk about what's going on. I don't need you to buy anything. Most times there's not something to buy. But if you did something really wrong, I'm going to say, we could maybe do some other things moving forward. I'm not going to say, what did you do this for? Boy, you've thrown your money away for 20 years. I know there are people that will say things like that. I mean, they're out there. That approach does not fit my personality.
And nobody can go back to that moment in time when they made that decision. Nobody knows what the what the environment was like and what's going on. And it's all water under the bridge anyway. What's most important is, okay, here's where we are. Where are we going? And I think that's a good mantra that describes these folks here at Insurance Agency 365. It is, where are you now? Where do you want to get? And then let's draw a roadmap here.
So I was reviewing a couple weeks ago a client's long-term care, just going over their annual review. Just, here's your benefits, here's your deductible, here's what the company finances look like. And then I said, by the way, do you have anything else you want me to look at? And they said, yeah, we do. We'd like to drop off tomorrow at your office some annuity paperwork from years ago. And I said, you sure it's an annuity? And they said, I don't know. I'm not sure if it is or not. And I said, well, drop it off. So sure enough, the next day, about 5:05, the lady drops it off. And I thought, wow, that was fast. She really wants me to look at this. And so I did look at it. And it was a good product. It was a product from 2002 that his dad had bought for him. So his dad had left him some money and put it in an annuity. And I said, this is a good annuity. And in 2002, this was a good product. But what it can do for you today by looking at it and looking at our options and seeing if it fits your lifestyle today as a 70-year-old. What do you want as a 70-year-old? Most people will say, I want more income. I want more security. And can we make that product from 2002 into something that makes a guaranteed lifetime payment? Absolutely. But it started with that conversation about long-term care. It was trusting. It was a night appointment, just talking about their long-term care, and in the confines of my office, just discussing. And they were comfortable enough to say, you know what, why don't you look at this for me? And again, we haven't sold them anything. We just were going over what they had and said, do you realize this was that product and does it fit you today? And they're both like, it's not. So now we're looking at some alternatives to fit what they need as 70-year-olds.
There obviously was some forethought back in 2002 that was a nice bridge between there and now.
And now you need to, you just can't leave products be, like a life insurance plan or an annuity or long-term care. Like, well, if I ignore it, it must be okay. It's kind of like, imagine saying that about your spouse. If I ignore it, it must be okay.
It'll go away.
Literally.
Yeah. Or come back at you pretty hard, one of the two. But again, we talked about this in the first segment here. There's 2 nights coming up at Black Cow Fat Pig here this month. Wednesday, January the 26th, Thursday the 27th, 6 o'clock both evenings. Angela, they need to make reservations for both of these nights because you guys are going to take about an hour and 15 minutes to go over these things from that 30,000-foot level. And obviously, you're not going to get anything done that night, but you're going to pick up a lot of good information. And like you said, Jay, it might spark some questions in your mind. So maybe take notes that night, then come back with you guys later, get an appointment, and then sit down and then really start talking specifics. Right, Angela?
Correct.
There's 30 seats each night, and there's a bunch of these already filled. So don't wait. And maybe the best way to do this is just to call the office.
Yeah, that's going to be the easiest. Just give us a call and just say, I heard them on the radio, heard Angela and Jay on the radio, and want to make an appointment on the seminar.
402-371-3136, and they're located at 711 South 13th. Heck, you can drop on by too and get all signed up and then learn. How about you, Angela? Your turn here.
We had a lady come in. Jay's been working with her quite a bit. She came in because Jay has that trust factor with her, and she's like, a couple months back, I bought this product. I really don't know why I bought it. And we're like, well, who'd you buy it from? She goes, I went to this specific place. He's not from here, but he didn't have a business card. So I honestly don't exactly know what I bought. So we had to figure it out of what exactly she had.
If you can see the radio now, you can see the look of horror on my face. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just something that was not necessary. It wasn't a bad product, but for her situation, I said, how many layers do you need? And it was $230 a month.
She didn't have $230.
And I said, look.
I could join the country club for that.
Yeah. and those are things that, I said, well, if we're going to cancel this, who do we call? And she says, I don't know. He didn't have a business card. And
first red flag.
Yeah. And it was he comes into town, he works at this business. He comes into town and he sells you this. And, it's just and she needed that reaffirmation to say, look, it's okay. You made a mistake.
Yeah.
Only a couple months. Let's clean it up. Let's not make this mistake 10, 12 years going forward. Let's clean up the last 2 months, call it a loss. And, so many times, Jeffrey, some people would buy confettis and unicorns. I mean, some people just kind of, it's just, they go along with things. And
buyer's remorse is a real thing. I mean, we've all been on the car a lot and a nice day. And then the next morning you wake up and you go, oh Lord, what have I done? So not to get too deep in the weeds here, Angela, but what do you do in a situation like that when somebody's already signed a contract? Is it difficult to get somebody back out? How do you do that?
It just depends on what the product is, but we definitely want to make sure that the client understands what they purchased and then help them, understand their situation. Do they need that product? Is that product giving them benefits, or is it just another product that they're paying on?
Yeah.
I mean, we're here to help. We're not here to tell them you should or you shouldn't. We want them to make the decision an educated decision of whether they need it or not.
Yeah. And like I say, peace of mind. We all want peace of mind, especially after you've pulled that plug and you are in retirement. You're maybe counting your pennies sometimes. You're on a fixed income and you want to make darn sure you know what's coming in and what's going out. And you want to be as efficient with all of those dollars as you possibly can. So please pick one of these 2 nights here. Is there one or the other that's filling up faster, you guys, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Wednesday or Thursday, January 26th or January 27th, 6 p.m. Come and listen to these 2 radio stars in person and see what they have to say that evening. Like we say, bring a notebook or something like that. Make some notes to yourself because you're probably going to walk away with some questions. Is there going to be a little Q&A that night, Jay?
No, I really don't, because I don't want it to get long. I don't want it to be lengthy. I don't want it to get to be personal. I will speak. You'll sit down at 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And the salads will start at 6:07. The salads will be picked up at 6:13. The dinner.
Man, this sounds like the mess hall.
The dinner is served at 6:47, and dessert is served at 7:05. And I will speak during those times. Yeah. And I will walk out. And if you want to meet with us, Angela will be in the back saying what day, what time, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Yeah. When do you want to meet with Jay and Angela? And people have the opportunity. If you don't want to meet with us, you walk out and say, thanks, that was enjoyable, and learn something. And no, very, very casual.
There you go.
Very, not a high pressure place at all.
Sign up today and give their office a call. We're out of time here for this time around. Find them online, insuranceagency365.com. Their phone number again, 402-371-3136. And they're located at 711 South 13th Street. Again, 6 o'clock on Wednesday, January 26th, 6 o'clock on Thursday, January 27th at Black Cow Fat Pig. And that is your retirement for January. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Again, happy 2022. Let's get down to business here. Your retirement with Insurance 365. We're back again next month on News Talk WJEG.